The EU ambassador to Albania, Luigi Soreca, issued a statement that the EU delegation expects the work for electoral reform to be finalised by next week and called for the fight against crime to intensify as a condition for negotiations next June. Bad weather with windstorms and heavy rainfall caused problems in coastal cities. In Durrës and Vlora, work in the fishing sectors has been suspended, while Italian ferries are suffering from delays of up to 8 hours. The government has undertaken the construction of the Tirana-Durrës Road in 2019 in a public-private partnership alongside 3 other projects to the total value of 262.6 billion lek. Good evening, it's 6 o'clock on Tuesday the 30th of October 2018. Welcome to the English edition of Aura News. My name is Alexandra and I'm here to bring you the day's top stories from across the country translated into English. Next week, the European Union delegation in Tirana expects Parliament to finalise its work on electoral reform. This statement was made by Ambassador Luigi Soreca, who also asked the government to pursue the fight against crime and as a condition for negotiations to open next June. At the Conference on Transparency on Hidden Benefits, the Director of Human Rights and the Rule of Law in the Council of Europe, Christos Giakomopoulos, called for a fight against this phenomenon, which is growing throughout Europe. The European Union ambassador to Albania, Luigi Soreca, is optimistic that next week the Parliamentary Commission will complete its work on electoral reform and vote on it in the Parliament. This means that the opposition, according to Soreca, must return to the Assembly and finalise this process. We are very pleased with the work done by the Commission of Electoral Reform. With assistance from international experts, it is a very positive cross-party dialogue. This should be finalised in Parliament with joint work from both sides. We are hopeful that next week the Electoral Reform Commission will resume work and this reform, said Luigi Soreca. At the Conference on the Transparency of Beneficiaries in the framework of hidden third-party owners, Soreca welcomed police action to crack down on crime and corruption, but called for more action to be taken to meet the conditions for negotiations to be opened next year. In support of the government's plan that has been approved to combat money laundering, you must respond to the demands of the international community. Now is the time to move. A concrete result is needed. It is necessary to continue on the important path of judicial reform. We need to build up the institutions that are required by the Constitution, added Soreca. The Director of the Rule of Law in the Council of Europe, Christos Giakomopoulos, was present at the conference. He said that this phenomenon is on the rise and to fight it, coordinated work is needed between all parties. There are people who hide behind legitimate persons in order to gain property and benefits, and this leads to fiscal evasion and concealment of crime, such as money laundering and corruption, said Christos Giakomopoulos. Justice Minister Etilda Jonai said that Albania has taken all legal measures to combat this phenomenon. Bad weather with windstorms and heavy rainfall are causing problems in coastal cities. In Durrës and Vlora, work in the fishing sectors has been suspended, while Italian ferries are suffering delays of over 7 hours. In Vlora, the flooding has also created difficulties in movement on land, and as a result of the strong wind, there has been damage in the city, and in some areas there is no electricity. Movement on the main coastal roads remains difficult. The storm has also caused damage to businesses, breaking glass, mostly on the boulevard of the city, and there is also a risk of some trees falling. Meanwhile, the current is at 6 knots in the bay and 8 in the open sea. As of yesterday, fishing and other small boats have been suspended from being allowed out to sea. Meanwhile, the Vlora-Brindisi ferry waits in the queue in anticipation of a calming in the situation to allow its journey towards Italy to begin. Consequently, in some areas of the city, there are difficulties in pedestrian and car traffic. The bad weather that has enveloped our country has also caused Italy problems, some of which are being felt at the port of Durrës. The 3 ferries scheduled for yesterday evening set off to Italy after an 8-hour delay, and delays are also expected from Bari ferries. According to the captain, the sea current in the Bay of Durrës is reaching up to 8 knots in the open sea, while the wind is measuring over 70 kilometres per hour. In these conditions, the release of small and medium tonnage vessels has been suspended. In the city of Durrës, there were no problems. Meanwhile, in Saranda, bad weather caused a cruise ship full of tourists to be held up. Heavy rainfall caused flooding in some road segments in Fier, and in a block of buildings in the centre of Fier, residents have become trapped due to the water that has flooded the entrance of the building. Problems have also occurred in other cities, but with no serious consequences. The government has foreseen the concession of the road Tirana-Durrës in 2019. The proposal is being examined by the Infrastructure Ministry, with the draft then being presented to the Parliament for voting. In total, public-private partnership projects are expected to increase investments by 262.6 billion lek. The Tirana-Durrës road is expected to be the next major tender for 2019. The private-public partnership project has been included in next year's budget, which will soon be debated in Parliament. Official sources from within the Ministry of Infrastructure suggest that they have received an offer, and it has been learned that the proposal is being analysed. This institution will make all processes transparent, including whether or not the aforementioned proposal will be accepted. The investment is anticipated to be set up in a way that the private builder takes a fee for switching and raising the investment profit. It was also stated that a total of 262 billion and 662 million lek for PPP projects have been outlined in the state budget for 2019. This is despite the fact that international institutions have raised concerns about Albanian funds being used in this manner. According to the draft, most of these projects relate to infrastructure, including those for construction, operation and maintenance of the Tirana-Durrës road and the Kashar-Rogozina highway, as well as the airports of Kukës and Vlora. The highest value is for the Kashar-Rogozina road, forecast to be at 84.7 billion lek, and for the Tirana-Durrës, the contract value is foreseen as 49 billion. The draft budget also predicts the construction of pre-university schools in the capital, which are already in process. Meanwhile, in the health sector, it is foreseen the concession of construction of the Fia Regional Hospital, as well as the provision of hospital laboratory services. Shkoza's residents claim that the project for the construction of Tirana's outer ring has deviated from the original plan. They say that they were informed verbally by the Albanian Road Authority that their homes would now be in the firing line, adding that they were excluded from the legalisation process. Within the walls of one particular house, there are 5 families whose members will have to go out on the street because the house has been determined as to be destroyed for the construction of Tirana's outer ring road. Petrit Duku says the home was built with remittances and for the past 12 years has been in the process of legalisation, but a few days ago representatives of the Albanian Road Authority verbally announced that it will be destroyed. Residents assert that the project has deviated from the original plan, and according to the new map, the Lana River passes through their homes, unlike what was previously defined. In such circumstances, the only way to appeal is to the Prime Minister. There are about 160 other families like Petrit Duku's who remain homeless from the construction of the capital's outer ring. It turns out that 82 objects were excluded from the legalisation process, which means that these residents have no right to be compensated for the expropriations. Researchers and academics of different fields will now easily be able to access archived documents. The General Directorate of the Archive, in cooperation with the National Agency for Information Society and in the care of the Deputy Prime Minister Senida Mesi, presented today the online archive module. This is a new service on the eAlbania portal, which is the first to serve this particular group. Digitalisation of the archives will continue as only 0.2% of the available documents have gone through this process. Through this service, everyone can easily get the required materials by making the online application and providing a credit card payment. The online archive module will provide free services for students who are completing their master thesis or are enrolled in doctorate studies. The Democratic Party accused the Edi Rama government of having predetermined the tender winner for the new business transaction monitoring system. Democratic Party MPs Jorida Tabaku and Endri Hasa denounced via a media outlet that a €15 million tender was given to a Croatian company under mysterious circumstances in a bid that creates a monopoly on transactional verifications. Jorida Tabaku said that the Democratic Party is gathering information about who is hiding behind the Croatian company that received the €15 million contract. The supposed tender process was a facade of a race, won by a company that does not meet the criteria. The tender processes are corrupt, just as the Democratic Party warned, and the criteria calculated specifically to fit this company. The DP is getting the necessary information on who is behind this company. However, it can be said that this corrupt affair leads Albania to a step in the fight against corruption, as a basic condition for launching negotiations with the European Union. A €15 million tender was donated to a Croatian company intended terribly mysterious conditions, and this is proof that corruption in Edi Rama's government has deep roots. This corruptive tender with a predetermined winner is merely a continuation of the scandal we denounced 3 years ago for the concession of the VAT system. That was awarded to an offshore Chinese company associated with Prime Minister Rama's brother. Citizens are seeing the continual decaying of the Rama government every day, such as this corrupt tender that sets a monopoly on controlling business billings. This government is selling Albania to their clients. During Edi Rama's government, Albanians have paid an additional 3.7 billion euros in increased taxes without taking anything back. Everything went towards corrupt tenders. The Democratic Party assures Albanians that with the anti-mafia package, nobody will enjoy anything gained through corruption and ties with power. With the anti-mafia package, any tender like this one today, any concession, any licence, any corrupt agreement will be cancelled, declared Yorida Tabaku. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join me again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.